Hello and welcome to Hot and Heavy, the Elaine Bennis podcast. I'm your host, Shivani Desai. Today I'll be talking about Season 6, Episode 5, The Couch. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing out there? I'm doing better, finally. My cough is pretty much gone. My voice isn't totally back, but it definitely sounds the best it has in a week. And it's a relief, honestly. When you don't sound like yourself and you can't just use your regular voice, it's very frustrating. Plus, I had to tape 3 self-tape auditions this week and I sounded terrible. I tried to overcompensate with performance, but I haven't even heard anything about them. No callbacks. And I think I'm pretty sure it had to do with this awful voice. Maybe they just didn't like me. Who knows? But at any rate, haven't heard back. Clearly not into my Nina Blackwood / B. Arthur voice. And you know what? I kind of can't blame them. All right. So I was actually going to skip banter this week because I just kind of want to get into it. But at the very last second, I decided to just do this person a favor. There's a new podcast coming out and I thought, hey, you know what? Let me just promote it on my podcast. Any help I can provide to this person, I just feel like that's my duty as a podcaster. So it's a podcast by a woman. She's an actress. Her name is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah, RJLD is becoming a podcaster. She has her own podcast called Wiser Than Me. And the description of it is as follows. Julia Louis-Dreyfus wants to know why the hell we don't hear more from older women. So she's sitting down with Jane Fonda, Carol Burnett, Amy Tan, Diane von Furstenberg, Isabel Allende, and Fran Lebowitz, and more to get schooled in how to live a full and meaningful life. Join the Emmy Award-winningest actress of all time on her first ever podcast, where each week she has funny, touching, personal conversations with unforgettable women who are always wiser than me. Fun! I'm down with this podcast. I'll totally listen to this. I mean, let's face it, if JLD does a podcast about cotton balls, I'd listen to it. I'd listen to anything. Even if it's something like I hated, like cotton balls are just so whatever, but Evanescence. If she did a podcast about Evanescence, who controversial take maybe, but I cannot stand it. It's like needles in my ears. I would listen to it because I want to hear from JLD every week. How fun. So yeah, I'm totally going to be listening to this. I'm not as old as JLD or the women mentioned in the description, but I want to know what's to come. I am like an advice junkie. I love advice columns, podcasts. I am all about advice. I like to give advice but I only do it if I know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't advise people on shit I don't know, like Evanescence. I'm not going to be like, well, this is the Evanescence record you should listen to. Zero would be mine. My advice. But anyway, enough about Evanescence. I'm excited about this podcast. I'm going to listen. I think I am an older woman. Certainly to a lot of younger people. I, at 44, am probably considered an older woman. And this is right up my alley. So I already subscribed to it and I'm excited. Right now, it looks like there's just the intro episode. That sort of, typical intro episode that every podcast has to do. So it doesn't look like anything else has been released, but I'm looking forward to it. All right, so let's get into this episode. The synopsis for The Couch is as follows. George tries to bluff his way through a book club discussion of Breakfast at Tiffany's by renting the movie. He shares it with the family who beat him to the movie rental, but he ends up destroying their couch. Elaine dumps her hunky new boyfriend when she learns that he's anti-choice. Poppy urinates on Jerry's couch after listening to Jerry and Elaine's discussion of abortion. A heated argument with Poppy over when pizza is a pizza causes Kramer's idea for a pizza place where you make your own pie to go up in smoke. This episode was written by Larry David. Speaking of written by, who the hell wrote this synopsis? My Lord. I like I've said it before, but talk about phoning it in. I feel like a total non-Seinfeld fan writes these synopses and they're so bad. All right, we start out in a furniture store. Jerry is shopping for a couch with George. George is telling him that his girlfriend made him join a book club and that they're reading Breakfast at Tiffany's. They wanted to read a Truman Capote book. Then Jerry finds his couch. Oh, yeah, this is it. All right, next we're at Jerry's apartment. Elaine is asking, what's going on? New couch, baby. As the moving men are moving Jerry's old couch out of the apartment, Elaine sees that one of them is really cute. She sort of rests on the couch as they lift it up. Hello. Oh, let me get the door for you. Oh, be careful. Be careful. She asks Jerry about what he's doing with the old couch. And he's like, I don't know. They're taking it. Oh, do you want it? Yeah, I'll take it. And Jerry says, well, I'm sure they can deliver it to your apartment. Yes, they can. Elaine's all about that. Kramer enters. He is so excited about the couch. It's kind of like he's getting a new couch. He tells them that he's going into business with Poppy. He wants to back his idea about a pizza place where you make your own pie. And he also talks about how good Poppy's restaurant is. Elaine's always wanted to go, and she says, Jerry, we should go. Jerry's like, I'm not eating there. Didn't he get busted by the Board of Health? Kramer's like, that was in the past. He actually was voted one of the cleanest kitchens in New York City. And they have a duck there that you died and went to heaven. Elaine loves duck. Come on, come on. Kramer's like, you have to order it 2 days in advance. You know what? I'm going to call right now on your behalf. And then he totally falls, almost running into the couch. They set the new couch down. And Jerry asks, Lainey, what do you think? Why'd I have to sit on it? No, I don't want anyone sitting on it. She asks the cute moving guy if they can take the old couch to her place. It's not very far. He says, sure. You got room on the truck for me? I think we can squeeze you in. Oh, goody. Elaine exits, but not before saying, see you chumps later. After Elaine and hot moving guy are gone, Kramer asks Jerry, did you offer them something to drink? No, should I have? What kind of a person are you? I don't know. My take on this scene, we see Flirty Elaine. It's one of my favorite Elaines. I mean, all the Elaines are my favorites, but Flirty Elaine is fantastic, and she's, feeling it, feeling herself. I love how we see Elaine sprucing herself up, like during that whole conversation between Jerry and herself and Kramer about poppies. She's brushing her hair. She's got her compact out. She's like, I got to make sure I look good. This guy is super hot. It's just another example of Elaine kind of owning her sexuality. She doesn't, sort of wait for him to make any kind of move. She just, she's very flirty and asks to ride in the truck. Like, I just love this. Again, it's just that owning of sexuality that I love so much about Elaine. And finally, can we say it? Finally, a hot guy for Elaine. Now, this is David James Elliott, who goes on to star in Jag for, I think, like 10 years. He kind of holds a special place in my heart. My dad, my late father, loved Jag. I remember whatever night Jag was on, I think I had like a free night or something. So I'd always just kind of visit my parents that night, like Wednesday night. I can't remember, but my dad would always be watching Jag, and he just loved that show. And he would try to get me to watch it. And I don't know what it was, even though DJE, super hot, it just wasn't my thing. So, but anyway, I just have a special place in my heart for David James Elliott, a.k.a. Jag. Well, I know he's not Jag, but you know what I mean. And finally, Elaine calling them chumps as she leaves. It's just perfect. Next, we see George sitting in a chair at his house. He's starting to read Breakfast at Tiffany's. But after about a second and a half, he gets distracted by the TV guide. Next, we're at Poppy's. Elaine and Jerry are arriving, and she's telling Jerry about getting asked out by the moving guy, Carl. He said, do you date moving men? And you want to know what I said? Well, I can't wait. I do now. Is that something? You're something. Well, Jerry, of course, can't go too long without talking about himself. So he's like, listen, when they were in my apartment before, I didn't offer them anything to drink. Elaine is so annoyed. They're real men, Jerry. They get sweaty. So anyone sweaty has to be offered a drink? Yes. And so he asks her, please apologize for me. Poppy comes over to greet them. Jerry is not thrilled about shaking his hand. He shows them to their table, and he's so excited about their duck. He just checked on it. It's just so succulent, so succulent. Jerry brings up the whole business with Kramer. Poppy's excited too. Your friend and I, we're going to make a lot of money. But that he already has a lot of money. Poppy does very well, very well. Elaine says, well, your mother must be very proud. Ooh, immediate mood change. Poppy's mother was taken by the communists from their home in the middle of the night. She labored in a camp for 12 years. Finally, she was released, but then died on the high seas. That totally kills the mood. All right, my take on this scene. The whole interaction where Elaine's so proud of herself with her response, I do now. And that little face, like she's so proud. It's such a real interaction with these characters. Like, of course, Jerry's going to not give her any sort of credit for coming up with that. In fact, he sort of makes her think like that's pretty lame. But she doesn't even seem fazed by it. So it's both kind of perfect. He gets his snarkiness and she's just like, whatever, I'm riding high. I'm going out with this hot ass man. This is kind of a side note, but I definitely credit this episode for my tendency or my practice. Every time there's delivery people, any sweaty people in my house, I offer them drinks. The best example of this, I do that with any kind of delivery person. But when we were getting our backyard finished, is that what they say? No, you finish a basement. Anyway, landscaped, I guess is the right term. My Lord. It went on. The work was pretty intense and it went on for, a couple of months. And so every day these men were out there toiling away in the summertime. It was hot. So I made sure I would have a cooler outside in the backyard full of like cold drinks because I credit this episode. It's like, holy shit, they need some Gatorade. They need some waters. Like, plus we're in Colorado, high altitude. Anyway, I will say they really didn't partake in it too much. They also came prepared with their own stuff. They probably weren't used to maybe the homeowners providing it. But anyway, I always made sure to have it stocked with drinks for them should they need it. And snacks, actually. I would keep little snacks in there too. You guys, I'm just such a good person. This is what I'm trying to say. Also, good face acting in this scene for JLD. I love as soon as Poppy turns when talking about his mother, I sort of like Elaine's fit. Like she's like, oh God, what the hell did I do? All right, next we're back at George's house. He's done with his TV program, stretches, and well, he gets back to reading. Not Breakfast at Tiffany's, but Cracked magazine. All right, next we're back at Poppy's. Elaine is so excited. She's never had food ordered in advance before. Jerry just isn't excited. I think Jerry is just still hung up, and it's fastidious Jerry. Like, of course, this tracks with him. It doesn't matter that Poppy has been cleared by the Board of Health, has the cleanest kitchen in the city. He can't get over the fact of that scene of seeing Poppy not washing his hands. So this is Jerry's whole attitude here is because of the last time he was at Poppy's where he saw Poppy not wash his hands after being in the stall, which I think means he was, dropping a deuce. So Jerry isn't excited about this duck at all. He's like, I would have rather ordered a pizza from Pequino's. Elaine looks at him. No, you should never order from there. The owner of Pequino's donates a lot of money to those radical anti-abortion groups. Jerry's like, so you won't eat the pizza? No, never. Well, what if Poppy felt the same way? Well, I guess I wouldn't eat here then. Really? Yeah, that's right. Well, perhaps we should check. She's like, what? Poppy. Oh, Poppy. Jerry asks him the question, where does he stand on the abortion issue? Uh-oh. Turns out Poppy's mother was pregnant when taken by the communists, but they put an end to that, and that no intelligent person can think different. Well, wrong thing to say to Elaine. Well, Poppy, I think differently. And what gives you the right to do that, he asks. The Supreme Court gives me the right to do that? Come on, Jerry, let's go. There are other women in the restaurant who overhear this. They either stay or go, depending on their beliefs. It's quite a scene. And Jerry's quite proud of himself. He got what he wanted. He doesn't have to eat at Poppy's. My take on this scene, we get to see pro-choice Elaine. Fuck yes, is all I have to say about that. Pro-choice Elaine, probably my favorite Elaine. I love that Elaine won't eat at Paquito's Pizza. I found out that an owner of a business did that kind of thing, donated money to radical groups like that. Fuck that. No way. They're not getting my business. In fact, I have my own list of businesses where I refuse to spend my money. There's a very popular chicken place that is super anti-gay, anti-trans. So as much as my kids beg for it because it seems like so many people love this place. It's apparently the best chicken ever. I'm like, we're good. We're good. We're not eating there. And I tell them why, and they understand. In fact, during the pandemic, I was really trying to, when lockdown first was happening, and I was really trying to help these local businesses and restaurants. Through all of that experience, we found out which local business owners were totally sort of ignorant and didn't believe science and refused to put in any safety protocols or follow any guidelines to keep people safe. So they are on my list. They're blacklisted. Just call me Hop Sing. Well, I couldn't cover this episode without recognizing how incredibly upsetting it is to watch at this point in our history. Elaine saying that the Supreme Court gives her the right to do that. That's tough to hear now. Yeah, it's just really fucking tough. And for all of you who are like-minded with that, keep up the fight. We got to vote out these ignorant, radical people who, just don't give a shit about women. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Back to the scene, though. I don't know. I always find it a little bit, I know it's for the sake of the comedy and for Jerry, it's purely because Jerry doesn't want to eat at Poppy's, but like Poppy just being pro-life versus like the Pequeno's owner giving money to radical groups, I feel like that's different. So I don't know. So I've always kind of struggled with that. I was like, well, just because Poppy is pro-life, I don't know if that warrants Elaine leaving. But what does warrant Elaine getting upset and leaving is the fact that he said that no one who's intelligent would disagree with him. Fuck all the way off, Poppy. And just to reiterate, Jerry is such a shit starter, and it's just his own selfish reasons. He doesn't give it like we never find out what Jerry thinks about abortion. We don't know his stance, but all he's doing for his own selfish reasons is using that to trigger Elaine. And again, this goes back to the theme I always see now in this rewatch for the podcast. Like, these men just love screwing Elaine over again and again. All right, next we are at Monk's. Proud Jerry is telling George about the scene he caused the night before. And he asks about the book. How's the book going? George sort of avoids the question, but then he says, oh, it's pretty good. What's it about? It's about Holly Golightly. You haven't read a page, have you? George is like, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate. And, no, he's not very bright. He'd like to be, but he's not. Well, what am I going to do? The book club meets in a few days. Jerry's like, just rent the movie. Oh, George is so relieved. See, this is when I like you. Kramer enters. Well, how was dinner last night? Elaine returns from the bathroom. Oh, Elaine, I was just asking how dinner went. She's like, oh, well, all right. What did you do to Poppy? Nothing. Well, he's in the hospital, and the cook says you put him there. Kramer doesn't know what's wrong with him, but he's going to pay him a visit. It would be nice if you got him something. Jerry and Elaine agree. Yeah, we should get him something. My take on this scene, it's not much, but I'm not sure I agree with Elaine about getting Poppy a gift. I don't think he deserves it. Not because of his beliefs, but because of how he yells at her. But I guess I understand why too. Just a nice gesture. Always take the high road, right? All right, next we're in the delivery van at the end of Elaine and Carl's date. Elaine is sharing some riveting information about herself, about the amount of shampoo in her shampoo bottle after a year. So what do you think of my conversation? Not much. And they have a good laugh. He says he can't invite her up because he doesn't have any furniture. You don't have any furniture? Apparently he hates furniture. He can't look at it. Well, they're all laughy and giggly at that too. Elaine says, pretty good date, huh? Yeah, no heavy lifting. And there's a big kissy-kissy at the end. My take on the scene, it's a cute scene. I think the point of like the shampoo thing, the furniture quip, it's like they're just connecting. I don't think it's the best writing, if I'm being honest, but whatever. It's fine. All right, next we're at the hospital. Kramer gives Poppy the gift from Jerry and Elaine. He's extremely offended by it. He has a gastrointestinal condition. Wine and a 5-alarm chili could kill him. Ugh, he's so disgusted with them. And he also mentions that they still owe him for the Newfoundland Ducks. That sounds like a hockey team. The Ducks from Newfoundland, I guess I should say. All right, next we're at Jerry's apartment. He opens the door to Elaine announcing she's in love. Oh, this is it, Jerry. This is it. She goes on. He's such an incredible person. He's real, honest, unpretentious. Oh, I'm really lucky. Did you apologize about me not giving him a drink? No, I forgot. And the best part, she says, is that he doesn't play games. Jerry's like, that's so boring. Well, whatever. Elaine's like, I love it. He doesn't play games. He has too much character and integrity. Uh-huh. Shitstarter Jerry has to ask, what is his stand on abortion? Elaine turns to Jerry as she's putting on her lipstick and smears her lipstick across her cheek in the process. Huh? Jerry asks again, what is his stand on abortion? Well, I'm sure he's pro-choice. How can you tell? Well, he's just so good looking. And Jerry's like, well, you better find out. He starts coming over with those Pequeños pizzas. Could be trouble. My take on this scene, it's one of my favorite moments is that lipstick move that Elaine does. She's so distracted by his question. And I have to say, I became obsessed with this shade of lipstick that Elaine is using in this scene. I just did. I sort of had a lipstick obsession in high school, I will fully admit. The hours I would spend at, well, I'm going to date myself here and Midwest myself. I don't know if these drugstores were all over the place, but it was Perry Drugs. It was Arbor Drugs, which I think turned into Rite Aid and CVS respectively. I don't know. But anyway, drugstores. I would spend so much time looking for the perfect shade of maroon lipstick. I was obsessed with maroon lipstick. Keep in mind, this was the 90s, and I fancied myself alternative, even though the only like alternative thing about me was the fact that I listened to Depeche Mode and new wave music, but nothing. I wasn't goth. Trust me, I was not goth. But I just was obsessed with it. I would never ever be seen without my dark maroon lipstick. I spent a lot of money on Wet n Wild and Revlon and all the drugstore brands. A lot of Wet n Wild, in fact, because I think they were like 99-cent lipsticks. I believe the number of my Wet n Wild lipstick that got closest to what I was looking for was 242. This means nothing to anyone, but I'm saying it out loud because now I'm totally down this rabbit hole of memories of being in high school and searching for that perfect maroon lipstick. But anyway, seeing Elaine's little lipstick move in this scene reminded me, I'm like, oh my God, I remember being obsessed with finding whatever shade she was using. And this was, of course, before any sort of social media or anything like this was easily accessible. I'm sure they would have that listed somewhere, on the internet, but they didn't do that in 1994. So young teenage Shivani just wandered the aisles of drugstores. Oh, fun memories. And finally about this scene, Jerry's just so obnoxious. I keep saying it. There's no reason to start shit about Carl and Elaine. I know, we know why he didn't want to eat at Poppy's, but what the hell? What's the point of starting shit? I mean, Elaine is so happy. You just want to cut down her happiness. I say that, but then honestly, it's probably good she finds out about his pro-life beliefs. Spoiler alert, Carl's pro-life, whatever. You guys know this. But anyway, yeah, it's good she finds out, early instead of getting too invested. So I guess Jerry did her a favor. Ugh. All right, next we are at the video store. George is trying to rent Breakfast at Tiffany's, but it's out. Oh man, George is so desperate. Well, can we call and ask them to return it? Oh, sorry, we can't do that. Well, maybe they're done with it. I'll go pick it up. I don't think so. It doesn't work that way. The video store guy has to go help another customer. So George leans over and sees the address of the Breakfast at Tiffany's renter on the computer. All right, next we're at the apartment building lobby. George has arrived at that person's building who rented Breakfast at Tiffany's. He buzzes. Are you Joe Temple? Yes. Did you happen to rent Breakfast at Tiffany's? The next scene is at Jerry's apartment. Kramer enters Jerry's apartment and tells him that Poppy's here. They're going to do the first test pizza tonight, but that he also wants the duck money. So Jerry gets up and greets Poppy, who's pretty cold to him. Jerry apologizes about the gift. I didn't know about your condition. Poppy's like, it's all right, just want my money. So Jerry goes into the back and Kramer tells Poppy to sit down. You're still recuperating. So Poppy sits down on the couch and exhales deeply. What, are you tired, Poppy? No. Jerry returns with the money and Poppy gets up. As Jerry's trying to say goodbye and apologize again, he gets distracted by a wet spot on the couch. Well, Poppy exits and Jerry tells Kramer to look at this wet spot. And they figure out that Poppy peed on my sofa. Kramer's like, well, you're making too much of this. I'm sure it'll come out. Well, Jerry's like, I don't care if it does. I can't sit on this anymore. Oh, sure, it's a natural human function. It just happens to be on my couch instead of in the toilet where it normally would be. All right, next we are at Joe Temple's door. George is explaining why he needs to watch the movie with them. Joe's like so taken aback. Why didn't you just read the book? Well, as I say, the pink eye made my vision quite blurry. Joe's daughter comes up to him and just glaring at George. Would you mind if he watched Breakfast at Tiffany's with us? She just glares at him and glares at her dad. The actress who plays Remy is Diana Theodore. It doesn't look like she continued acting past the year 2000, but during the 90s, she appeared in shows like ER, Ellen, and The Steve Harvey Show. And I think she's perfectly fine. That typical young teen with major attitude. She does it well. What a fun role, too. I mean, to be able to, have a guest starring role and get in a fight with George. How fun. All right, next we're back in the delivery van. Oh, Elaine and Carl are so lovey-dovey, holding each other's hands. They can't remember the last time they felt this way. They're thinking about each other all the time. Well, Elaine's got a little bit of another motive here. She makes up a story about, she's been distracted by this friend of hers. She got impregnated by her troglodytic half-brother and decided to have an abortion. Carl stiffens up. He says, someday we'll get enough people on the Supreme Court to change that law. And Elaine immediately breaks down in tears. My take on this scene, great face acting here. Just fantastic. As she's talking about her friend getting the abortion, I love how her eyes are darting around. I feel her, I feel her stress in that moment. Then I also feel her absolute devastation at Carl's response. Oh, what a deal breaker. It's a total deal breaker. I'm with you, Elaine. All right, next we're back at Joe's apartment. George is on the couch with Joe and his daughter, Remy. Before they start the movie, he asks for popcorn. Remy's like, where do you think you are? Well, some people keep it in the house. Well, we don't. You might want to try it. It just makes the movie more enjoyable, that's all. Joe passes over a little bowl of nuts. Oh, George is excited. He knows he's annoying them, but he's trying to get on their good side. He drops this boring ass knowledge about two nuts being named after people, Hazel and Filbert. Remy's like, oh my God, can we just watch the movie now, Daddy? And George just won't quit. How about we turn off the lights, get more of a theater atmosphere? Joe's like, the lights are fine. All right, next we're at Poppy's. Kramer is in the kitchen at Poppy's making his pizza. They're having a great time. Then he tries to put cucumbers on it. And Poppy's like, no, you can't do that. It'll taste terrible. Well, no, that's the idea, Kramer says. People can choose their own toppings. Poppy's like, we can't give people the right to choose any topping they want. On this, there can be no debate. And Kramer's like, well, what gives you the right to tell me how to make my pie? Because it's a pizza. It's not a pizza until it comes out of the oven. It's a pizza the second you put your fist in the dough. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No Elaine in the scene, but brilliant writing here. Really got to hand it to Larry David. All right, next we are at Joe's apartment. They're in the middle of Breakfast at Tiffany's. George is super into it, you can tell. Joe's wife enters and definitely confused by George's presence. She and Joe start chatting about a very ill friend of theirs. It seems like a super sad situation. George clears his throat, tells Joe, can you quiet down? Well, she keeps talking, and George interrupts again. I hate to be one of those people, but we're right in the middle of this. I can't hear. Who are you? Joe introduces him. It's very hard to follow with all the talking. And Joe's like, look, I'll pause it. So George gets up to refill his grape juice. The wife is like, who the hell is this guy? Remy tells her mom, well, he's in some book club, and he's here cheating on his test. George returns and asks, we still talking or we watching the movie? He tries to get his seat back right next to the table, but Remy's sitting there now. She's like, you didn't save it. He tries to wedge his way in, and that causes him to spill his grape juice all over their couch. And Joe just starts walking towards him slowly. Now, I do want to point out Denise Dowse plays the mom here. It's her second appearance on Seinfeld. That's why I'm not going over her background. She's an actress on the show. But I love me some Denise Dowse. She was on the show previously as a nurse when Morty Seinfeld loses his wallet at the doctor's office. And but yeah, I like her in this role as well. There's something so funny about the line, who the hell is this guy? All right, next we're at Jerry's apartment. Elaine is looking at the stain on the couch and is horrified, of course. Oh, my God. So you're going to get a new couch? He's like, I don't have any choice. Well, do you want your old couch back? I was hoping you'd offer. The movers buzz. Elaine's like, oh, who is that? Oh, your boyfriend. No, he's not my boyfriend. Why not? Take a guess. Oh, really? Oh. The movers come in, start taking the couch, and Carl says yes to Jerry's request to go to Elaine's place and bring the old couch back. Elaine's like, well, what are you doing with this one? And I guess George is taking the pea couch. He says he'll just turn the cushion over. My take on this scene, again, why is Jerry so pleased about Carl and Elaine breaking up? He's such a jerk. All right, next we are in Elaine's kitchen. Carl and Elaine are both saying, it's too bad about their feelings. And he says, well, let me go. I better get this couch back. She offers him something to drink, and he says, sure, and walks off camera. She says, oh, all I have is grape juice. Throw it. She throws it, and oops, he doesn't catch it, and it spills all over the couch. There's really not much to say about this scene. It's the last scene of the episode, except that we do get a tag where we see George at book club totally getting caught since the book is different than the movie he watched. Real quick, very rare, I have to do an actress breakdown from the tag of the episode, but George's girlfriend, Lindsay, is played by Jessica Hecht, who, oh my gosh, she's worked in hundreds of TV series and films over the years. She's probably best known for her role as Susan in Friends and Gretchen Schwartz in Breaking Bad. She'll return again in the next episode as Lindsay. So we'll get to see more of her then, but just wanted to give a little background this episode. I have to say, I've always gone back and forth about Jessica Hecht's acting. She does make very unique choices, which I appreciate sometimes, but I'm just not a fan of her choices, I guess. And I'm talking more about her performance as Susan on Friends. As far as her Seinfeld performance goes, I think she's fine. There's really not much to the Lindsay character. So she's totally fine as Lindsay. It's just other roles I'm kind of like, meh, I don't know if I love her too much. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and I will see you on the other side. If you are a person who enjoys your pizza in the traditional family way, the way God intended, look no further than Pochino's Pizza. Hello, I'm Mitch Pochino, owner of Pochino's Pizza. I know absolutely nothing about what goes into pizza making. I have never seasoned a sauce, kneaded any dough, or slid anything into a hot oven. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't make decisions for you about pizza. Feel free, you can choose. Sorry, oh man. These are the type of pizzas you will eat. Cheese, pepperoni, or mushroom. We at Pochino's believe that too much choice is a dangerous thing. So you can rest assured that these 3 types of pizzas we've decided on will be the best for you, no matter what your personal situation. I mean, after all, the pizza didn't ask to be made, and someone has to be the voice for the voiceless pizza from the moment the yeast begins to ferment. Thanks to our prayers being answered about a year ago, the pizza lawmakers have made it legal for Pochinos to ban any and all pizza order cancellations, no matter what the reason. You will eat our pizza, even if it gives you diarrhea, goes against your weirdo dietary restrictions, or you just changed your mind and wanted tacos instead. Precious pizzas shouldn't have to be thrown out because of your reckless, slutty behavior. Did you know that over 50 pizzas get thrown out every year due to canceled orders? Well, no more. That pizza is going to be delivered no matter what. And you will, do whatever you want with it. We aren't so concerned after they're out of the oven. Pizza is a gift from God, a miracle, a blessing. Pochinos Pizza. You'll eat our pizza. And we say Merry Christmas. Pochinos reserves the right to enforce the no cancellation policy exclusively on girls and women. Exceptions to the policy will be granted to men, especially if they are white and wealthy. And we're back. In the inside look, JLD talks so much about, just the fact that they were even saying the word abortion and talking about abortion, how incredibly rare that was, and talking about that on primetime sitcom television was super edgy. She also talks about just that brilliant writing of, the parallels being made with the pizza making and the abortion. She was just like blown away by that. Also, she mentions that she had to look up what troglodyte meant. She didn't know what that was when she got the script. In the notes about nothing, I wanted to mention one thing just because I think it's a little bit sweet. When Kramer goes to visit Poppy at the hospital, you see Kramer sitting down with Poppy, kind of defending, Elaine. And he says, quote, that Elaine, she's a real firebrand, that one. We've had our share of disagreements over the years. She's highly opinionated, but basically she's a good egg, unquote. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of sweet. It's not particularly funny, which is probably why they cut it. But I think that's just kind of a sweet moment of Kramer defending Elaine. All right, now it's time to open Greg's sack lunch. Greg is our most dedicated contributor to this podcast. So let me open up the sack. Let's see what's in here. All right, his favorite scene and Elaine moments. He says, I love both moments where Elaine stands up to Poppy. But I also love her face as the moving guy says he hopes the Supreme Court changes that law on abortion. At the time, this seems like the impossible, but now this clearly is relevant. The moment where Jerry asks Elaine where her new guy stands on abortion and she runs her lipstick onto her cheek, just perfect. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, Greg. Agree with all of that. All right. Also in his sack is his scene swap idea. He says, no notes. Both George and Elaine's plots, which dominate this episode, make it perfect. Oh, and Greg has some extra thoughts in his sack. He says, George's interaction with the family watching Breakfast at Tiffany's is the best part of this episode. I love this family, and I love how they let him in and subsequently turn on him. He's so pushy that I can't help but side with the family. While I love Elaine and the abortion plot, George's subplot just cracks me up. Also, love seeing super young Patton Oswalt working at the video store. Oh, yeah. I love the Temples, too. I'm totally on their side. George is so obnoxious. I mean, the first obnoxiousness move is just going there and then insisting that he watches it with them. And then he wants snacks. He wants them to turn off the lights. He's interrupting a conversation about a family friend being super ill and dying. Like, it's so typical George. And yeah, I agree. I think it's the funniest plot of the episode for sure. And yes, Patton Oswalt, this is actually his first ever television appearance as the video store employee. Thank you so much, Greg, for your thoughts. And now it's time to close Greg's sack lunch. All right, my favorite Elaine moments. Okay, I think by default, it has to be Elaine standing up to Poppy in support of abortion rights. Fuck yes. Pro-Choice Elaine is my favorite. So that by default has to win. But as far as a favorite comedic moment, I love her bravado when she's telling Jerry about her just incredible response to Carl. I do now. Oh, like in that face she makes, she's like, did you hear that? Oh my God. I just love how proud she is and she's totally feeling herself in that moment. So that's another favorite. And my final notes. This is a solid Elaine episode, not necessarily comedy-wise, but I love how we learn about her beliefs and how she sticks to them no matter what. Even an incredibly hot man who is perfect in every other way. Nope, deal breaker. If you don't believe in a woman's right to choose, see ya. Go to your empty, non-furniture apartment. My scene swap idea. Okay, so save for the Kramer and Poppy scene about pizza and the parallels to abortion, because that's brilliant. I'm not a huge fan of the Kramer Poppy storyline, all of the Poppy stuff in general, even though like that moment where he pees on the sofa and then like that whole thing with Jerry, the water bottle and the water getting Jerry's mouth, that wasn't planned. So I sort of appreciate that moment because of just how spontaneous it was. And, they kept it together and they were able to keep that take. So I appreciate all of that. But to me, it's a little too broad. It's too it's trying too hard a little bit. And I'm sorry, I just have to say this. I think we're supposed to believe that Poppy does this to Jerry's couch for revenge. Now, the flip side to that is that maybe his condition doesn't make him realize he's peeing, but I think he's doing it for revenge. But who fucking, okay, yes, I know people pee on things for revenge. Common revenge practice, urinating on things. But I think people do it in a way that they're not getting themselves all soiled with urine. No one is going to pee through their pants on a sofa for revenge. I just don't get it. I don't understand this, how it even is possible. Poppy's pants would be wet. I don't know. It's sort of, again, too broad, a little too far-fetched for me. So instead of that, I would have loved to see more interaction with George and the Temple family because it's so great. The guy who plays Joe is fantastic. Remy's great. Denise Dow's, I love her. Yeah, so that would have been funny because it's the funniest plot of the episode by far. And probably a little bit more Carl and Elaine, interaction together. I'm not ashamed, mostly for eye candy. So overall, this is a pretty average episode, I would say. But given that we see pro-choice Elaine, it's pretty high up there for me. And I think that's all I can say about the couch. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to follow Hot and Heavy on social media. On Instagram, we are at Hot Heavy Elaine. On TikTok, it's at Elaine Bennis Podcast. And if you have any other thoughts, please email me at elainepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.